Mm. Good morning or good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Fran.
Hi, good morning, Fran, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just letting everybody in. So it'll just be a few minutes while we get everybody to our webinar.
I'll talk to you later. I love you too. I will. Bye.
Welcome, everybody. We're just going to give it a few minutes for everybody to join. So just hang tight and we'll be joining shortly. I'm going to mute everybody just to avoid any background noises. But feel free if you have any questions in the meantime. Our chat will be monitored through the entire webinar. We'll just wait a few more, maybe another minute, and then we'll get started. Cindi, thank you for being here today. I see that you're on.
Absolutely. Thank you. Excited to see so many faces.
Yes, definitely. It's a very hot topic and something I know that our caregivers are very interested in hearing about. So we're excited to hear your expertise on this subject. So.
Is that Marixa?
That is Marixa.
Been a while since I've seen you.
It sure has.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why it says Ronald Rook. That's very strange.
Oh, no. All right.
What is happening?
I can fix that for you, Marixa. There we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We still have a few trickling in, so thank you everybody for being patient while we wait for everybody to join. It says that I'm in the waiting room and I'm afraid to admit myself because I'm already here and I don't want there to be any back noise. So sure why that's happening.
Yeah, you'll get the echoing.
Exactly. We want to avoid that. So I have muted everybody just as a reminder, and also feel free for any questions that you may have. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be reviewing the chat. So if you're not familiar with the chat function, you can let me know now, but that is located on the bottom of your screen. And there's a little conversation bubble and it says chat. So you can send a message directly to me or to everyone or to just anybody in particular. But for the purposes of this meeting, I think it's best to send it, to everybody, and then I'll be relaying those to Cindi as either we'll find out what her preferred method of answering questions is. So it's 1:35, so I think we will go ahead and get started. So just wanted to say good afternoon, everybody, and on behalf of the ALS Association Florida chapter, I just want to thank you all for your attendance today. We are doing our caregiver webinar on home modifications to make ALS excuse me, caregiving easier. And my name is Tina Duane, for those of you that don't know me, and I'm the program manager down here in South Florida. And I'm going to be facilitating today's caregiver webinar. So again, any questions, I'll be facilitating those and relaying those to our guest speaker, Cindi. So I place everybody on mute and do encourage you again to use the chat feature for any questions. And I will be monitoring those, so rest assured that no questions will go unanswered. So again, there's also going to be time at the end of the presentation for questions. So I'd like to introduce our speaker today. So we have Cindi Petito, and she has a lot of credentials next to her name. So Cindi has practiced as an occupational therapist for 27 years, specializing in complex neurological diseases and injuries in aging populations, wheeled mobility and complex seating, assistive technology, home safety, and home modifications. She owned a private community-based therapy practice for 21 years, delivering specialty services in homes throughout the state of Florida. Currently, Cindi provides consulting and education services to various healthcare organizations, clinicians, and individuals throughout Central and North Florida. So Cindi, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here to present on, again, like I said, on this very important topic. And I'm going to be monitoring the chat. Would you prefer that I save all questions to the end of your presentation, or how would you like to me to handle any questions?
So what we'll do is sort of midway, I'll stop for answering questions that come into the chat. And then there'll be plenty of time in the end, hopefully, for additional questions thereafter.
Okay.
Yeah,
very
so we
good.
can, yeah.
Sounds
Okay.
good. All right. Thank
Well,
you.
I'm going to share screen here. And we'll go into presentation mode. All right. So can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
And hopefully we're in, okay, good. We're in presentation mode. Perfect. All right. So as I was introduced, I'm Cindi Petito, and have quite a bit of years of experience in working with persons with ALS. And I did have a private practice and worked pretty closely with Mayo Clinic Jacksonville for many years, and also with the Tampa General as well, and currently still have some private ALS clients with ALS in Orlando, Jacksonville, and Tampa. So, you know, I try to stay very involved. I'm also a walk committee for the Jacksonville ALS walk committee. I've been a committee member for, gosh, probably going on 10 years now. So I have a great passion for persons with ALS and their caregivers. I don't have a family member that's has ALS, but I have friends who have had families with ALS. And so, you know, it is dear and true to my heart. So, all right. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is, because this sort of gets confused at times when somebody is newly diagnosed with ALS, and they have, you know, there's a lot to take in. It's very overwhelming, and they have questions around, what do I do in my home? What's the first steps? What do I need to consider? And so the first thing that I typically tell folks is, let's look at the safety of your home first before we jump right into doing some modifications, depending on where they are in their in the disease process, and how, you know, how it's affected them physically. But typically folks that are just diagnosed, they are, you know, starting to experience the weakness. They may be, having some tripping and some falling. They may not need right away the expensive modifications that we're going to talk about later on the slide. And so there's some very simple, low, what I call low cost, low, what I call low technology, things that they can do in their home to help their home be safe. Okay. And I'm going to show you some of those products, but typically when we're talking about looking at home safety, we're really looking at some what we call standard durable medical equipment, such as maybe a shower chair for the shower, or a raised commode seat over the toilet. Things that are like I said, they're low cost, and insurance pays for some of the equipment, such as like a wheelchair. If they need a wheelchair just for long distances, or maybe they need a walker because they need the stability while they're standing at the sink to groom or brush their teeth or so forth. So those are some of those things are covered by insurance, and some are not. When we talk about home modifications, typically it's when somebody is having a more difficult time because they're becoming weaker and they need more assistance by their loved ones or their caregivers. And it's really when you start seeing that somebody's having a more of a permanent physical limitation, meaning that they're no longer able to walk. They really are using a wheelchair or power wheelchair. And this level of equipment and modifications that we recommend during this time is what we call complex rehab technology equipment, such as the power wheelchair. And some of you may have already gone through this process, but typically you have to have an evaluation for the devices. So to make sure that what is recommended is appropriate and fits well and works inside the home. Okay, so that's sort of the differences between home safety products and home modification products. We're going to see some pictures of that. So when we talk about, access to the home, and I've seen situations where caregivers are, they're actually lifting somebody up like a step into the doorway, right? Or they're backing them in and they're lifting the wheelchair up over the threshold of the door. And that can become cumbersome and also put the caregiver at risk and the person with ALS at risk for injury. They could fall out of the wheelchair. And so we recommend what we call threshold ramps. Threshold ramps are typically under 6 feet in length. Anything longer than 6 feet is usually what we would consider a ramp system that needs to have handrails. Okay, that's the ADA regulation. Is any ramp over 6 feet needs to have handrails. So these are, again, low cost items that will accommodate a threshold or a step, approximately up to 6 inches. So for every inch high is the step, you go a foot out. Okay, so it's what we call a 12-to-1 ratio. Now, what some folks have done is they'll have somebody who tells them, well, you need a folding suitcase ramp, or they'll sell them a ramp that looks like the one on the far right. And the folding suitcase ramps are not my favorite because, number one, they're not stable. They have a tendency to rock, which is scary for the caregiver as well as the person sitting in the wheelchair. But also the width between the edges here is just about 29 inches. And when we look at a wheelchair, specifically a power wheelchair, the power wheelchairs really need 30 to 32 inches of what we call wheeled user space. So my recommendation is always to go with a platform type of ramp, like the one you see on the left, because it has a wider wheeled user space. I also really like rubber threshold ramps because they're heavy, they're not going to shift. And usually they have this really nice rubber grade on them. And they come in a wider, they come in larger widths, so they can actually go outside of the door threshold. And you can build it up. So there's certain rubber ramp sets now where you can actually build it out to as long as you need it. So when we get into ramping, or what we call a rise greater than 6 inches, then we're really talking about a ramp, a full ramp system. And modular ramp systems are great because number one, they're lower maintenance than wood ramps, and they don't require as much maintenance, especially in the southern states where we have a lot of humidity in the summer. We've got, algae and so forth that grows on it. And with wood ramps, they require maintenance. They really need to be pressure washed, because once you start getting that algae and so forth that's setting in on the wood, it gets really slippery, and that can be a fall risk for a caregiver. So modular ramps are wonderful because they have, especially the aluminum ones, because they're already graded for anti-slip, they're low maintenance, and they're also easily removed. Okay. They're not permanent like a wood ramp. If someone likes the wood style, they do make modular ramps that are a certain grade of wood that, again, it doesn't have to be permanent. So modular ramps come in both aluminum and wood ramp styles. Another thing is the aluminum modular ramps also come in different colors. So if you live in a housing division or that has an HOA and they're specific about the look of the home, you can actually get it in a brown or a green, or a color that it doesn't stand out as much. Okay. So one of the things that's really super helpful for caregivers are, as well as individuals with ALS, are the automatic door openers. I don't know if anybody has automatic door openers, but they're wonderful because they can be voice activated, or they can open via touch of a button. And what'll happen is they'll open. Once it's activated, they'll stay open until the caregiver pushes the person through the door, or the person, if they're in a power chair, once they negotiate through the door, it can open and be programmed to open for a certain amount of time before it automatically closes. So very helpful for a caregiver who has to push somebody in a wheelchair, or if somebody's in a power chair and the caregiver's carrying groceries behind them, you can program the door to stay open for a certain period of time to meet their needs. Okay. The other thing are smart home technology now. This is something that I've actually started doing in the last couple of months. And the newer Alexa Echo Show, which you see in the bottom right-hand corner, Alexa is now compatible with Open Sesame. And so it's compatible with lights, smart plug, smart light bulbs, thermostat, ceiling fans, TV. So there is a wide array now of smart home technology compatibility with the Alexa system, which helps alleviate the caregivers from having to go somewhere to turn on a light for somebody. The individual can actually do it for themselves now. So, and again, it's if the person is actually losing their voice, if they're bulbar, and they don't have a strong enough voice to activate the Alexa via voice control, there's special switches that can be set up. And we can do all this through the power chair if they have a power wheelchair. So again, just, I mean, the advances in technology have just been, it's really hard to keep up, but it's been fantastic. So I've set up a couple of full systems for a person with ALS here in Jacksonville through the VA. So it's been wonderful. So it gives him total autonomy, and his wife doesn't have to do the things for him in the home anymore. He can turn on his own lights in the bedroom and so forth. So a couple of things about that I wanted to show as far as entrances and exits to the home. Excuse me. So with the ramps, the one thing about ramping systems is that if you have an entryway or your home is really high off of the ground, that's going to be a really long ramp. Gosh, I don't know what's going on with my throat. And so that long ramp, usually the longer it is, the more windy it is. And so that's a long way for a caregiver to have to push somebody up a ramp or somebody to maneuver a power chair in and out of the home. And typically, you know, there's two options. Rather than having a really large ramp, you can have a vertical, what we call a vertical platform lift installed, which is here on the right. The vertical platform lifts help both the individual be independent as well as the caregivers. Because the caregivers, again, they can carry the groceries up the steps while the individual, you know, operates the vertical platform lift to enter the home by themselves. So vertical platform lifts are a great second option to a large ramp system. And you can have exterior vertical platform lifts, or you can have one inside of the garage. That's pretty typical if there's enough room in the garage, and vertical platform lifts don't take up a lot of space in the garage. But and it provides, you know, a means of having a covered area to load and unload from a vehicle such as a van. A little bit higher cost option is what we call landscape ramps. And so that's what you see in the bottom left here, where instead of having a really long ramp, they've opted to landscape it. And the benefit of landscape ramps is the biggest benefit is safety, because it doesn't alert somebody that there's somebody that has a disability that lives in the home. So it doesn't alert somebody that wants to break into your home, right? So I love landscape ramps. It's just they're a lot more costly. So when we talk about the low cost safety items in the bathroom, typically one of the first types of modification we do in the bathroom is installation of grab bars. And again, grab bars come in all sizes and colors. They come in all different lengths. And there's one type of grab bar that I really like, which is called the Ponte Giulio, which you see here on the right, the nice colored ones. They actually have an anti-slip coating on them, which is wonderful, because if your hands are wet and you don't have what we call a peened texture on the surface of the grab bar, then your hands are likely to slip. And this is both for the caregiver as well as for the individual, as you know, because I have had caregivers who need grab bars as well to hold on to something while they're helping somebody transfer into a shower chair. Right. When we talk about tub and safety, There's all different kinds of options. And again, this is individual to the person and where they are in their in their disease process and in their level of physical capabilities. So, so super poles are a wonderful option if you don't want to have grab bars installed in the shower, because there's some folks that have they have a certain style of tile, or they just had their bathroom modified and they paid all of this money to put this really nice tile in their shower in their bathroom, and they don't want to drill holes into the tile. And so super poles are a great option for transfers, because basically it's mounted to the floor and it has a spring system that puts tension up against the ceiling, and it rotates as well. So here, this gentleman, he can use the super pole to hold on to for transferring onto the toilet and then into the tub. The next photo you see here are PT rails, and these are flip up, flip down rails. So, and if you can see here, this is a wall mounted one. So somebody can flip it up out of the way when they don't need it and flip it down when they do need it. Again, it's a great option for space saving, and PT rails do come floor mounted and wall mounted. So it kind of depends on the home, which option would be the best. In mobile homes, we typically recommend the floor mounted ones because the walls of a mobile home are typically not strong enough to support a PT rail. If someone's not quite ready to do a full bathroom modification, and they want to keep their tub, I've had some folks tell me, well, my grandkids come over on the weekends and they like to take baths, but I need a way to get, into the tub safer. I have a hard time stepping in and out of the tub. So tub cutouts are a great option, as you see here in these two photos on the right. The tub cutouts can be either a permanent cutout, or it can be a tub cutout with a replaceable door that is sealed to where it still can be used as a bathtub. For toilet safety frames, as far as transferring onto the toilet safely, I've seen a lot of folks purchase the raised toilet seats that go on top of the toilet. Those are really not the safest because they teeter. They're not secure. And I've actually had people fall sideways off of them before because they're just not secure. And so my typical recommendation is if you don't have room for grab bars on the walls on the side of the toilet, you can install a toilet safety frame, which is mounted to the back of the bowl of the toilet. And then it has these legs that give you that support from the floor. If there's somebody that's really tall, say they're 6'5", I recommend the Toilevator, which I've used for many, many years. It's very secure and it gives them that extra 4-inch lift that they need if they're really tall. I think what we'll do, I think there's a question, so we can stop for a question.
Sure. Yes, Holly had a question about the vertical platform lift being a piece of equipment. Would this be possibly covered by insurance?
Yes, and and I wish, but no, they are not covered by insurance. Yeah. So most of the products that you're seeing here, they're not covered by your standard Medicare, Medicaid. There's certain waivers. The adult disability waiver will pay for home modifications such as a vertical platform lift. But outside of that, in the VA will. Right. But any type of standard commercial insurance, I have not seen one been approved through insurance yet. I know Blue Cross and Blue Shield has been paying for things like ceiling lifts, but I haven't seen them pay for a vertical platform lift yet. Yeah.
Cindi, I had a question. I wonder if you could share about the difference or the safety concern with a suction shower rail versus one that's, mounted with hardware.
Yeah, so the suction cup grab bars are definitely a safety, they're a safety risk
Okay.
because they have to be, if there's a little bit of air or if it's suctioned across a grout line, it's definitely not going to, it's not going to be secure. It's going to come off. So I caution against using those. And actually, and again, if somebody doesn't want to mount them in, I would rather recommend something like a super pole for a grabber if we can make it work. And there's other types of poles out there that are not permanent. I didn't put them in the slides, but yeah, I definitely I try to steer people away from using those.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. All right, so stairs inside and outside the home. This is something that really I have to talk to folks a lot about, because their tendency is to want to get somebody to come in and put in a stair lift. Okay, what you see here on the left. And the stair lifts, they have their place. And you can get them inside the home or outside the home. However, the thing about stair lifts and recommending them for somebody that has a progressive neurological disease is that it's short term. Okay, because the person who has advanced ALS is not going to be sitting safely in a seat like this that you see here. And I've actually had this situation where a person with ALS had one. They were pretty much dependent for transferring into the stair lift seat and had a fall out of it. And so the best option, if you're looking at going up and down the stairs safely, is an inclined platform lift here, which you see on the right. Okay, and inclined platform lifts can also accommodate power wheelchairs and manual chairs. So the caregiver doesn't have to transfer them out of their chair and onto a lift. And then once they get to the second floor, they usually have a second manual chair. And then the caregiver has to transfer them out of the stair lift and into the wheelchair, or even to help stand up to use a walker. So there's a lot of lifting for the caregiver in that. And there's a lot of risk, with back injuries and falls and so forth. And so the idea is to reduce the amount of caregiver burden and all the transfers throughout the care in the home throughout the day and the evening. So bathroom modifications. This is where I usually get most of the questions because this is bedroom modifications. Sorry. So bedroom, we're covering bathroom modifications, but bedroom modifications is another common area where folks are needing the doorways widened, the flooring. They want to look at replacing the flooring with something that doesn't create a lot of resistance, like with carpeting, the lighting, and then I get a lot of questions about ceiling track and wall mounted systems. And so what I've done here is shown you some of the options to give you sort of a general idea of the categories of products that are out there. Typically, folks start off with some type of a Hoyer lift, which you see here on the right. I particularly like it's called the Advance. It's a Journs Advanced Hoyer lift, because this one actually folds up. So if you have a person who lives in a small home and they have very limited room for storing a big Hoyer lift, this one actually folds up. And it's also transportable as well. I had a quadriplegic in my family for 11 years. And this is what we used we actually transported it in the van and took it out into the community if we needed it. The next level of transfer type of system is going to be either your freestanding or your ceiling track systems. If somebody does not want to have a permanent system installed, though it's not, I mean, it is removable, but if they don't want to have it installed in the ceiling of their home, or maybe maybe there's going to be like too many challenges, maybe if they have recessed ceilings or whatever, you can opt to look at an over the bed system, which comes in both a 2-point and a 4-point system, meaning instead of 2 legs here, there's 4. Okay, so you actually have a cross system. Okay, the only thing about the 4-point system is they take up a lot more room, and there's a lot more navigating that the person has to do around a 4-point system versus a 2-point. And these are powered. So whether they're ceiling track or whether they're over the bed type of transfer systems, greatly increase the safety for the caregiver and the individual. Okay. So when we're looking at doors, I'm going to move you guys out of the way here. So looking at door systems, there's 2 different types of systems now, what we call barn doors. Barn doors are great. They're stylish. And as you see here in the middle photo here, they can be custom. The doors come in different widths. You can have a single door versus a double door. I've done a lot of single door barn doors on bathrooms. And then we also have pocket doors. So pocket doors are really nice. So if you have to have if you're going to look at a 32 or even a 34-inch type of door system that you need, if you're looking at a swing door, right? The swing door takes a lot of room to swing out into the area. So if the bedroom is small and you don't have a lot of room for that door to swing out, then that's when we would consider either barn door system or pocket door. And I think I have some more pictures here in the next slides. Okay, bathroom modifications. So as I said before, this is where I get most of the questions because this is the main area of the home that usually folks consider modifying. So a couple of things about bathroom modifications is your user space is going to be dependent on what I call the occupied equipment or the functional demands of the caregiver, right? So how much space does that person need while they're using their piece of equipment they're using in the shower? And then how much space does the caregiver need? Sometimes contractors go into the home and they provide them so much space that the caregiver has to actually put on a wetsuit and go in and get into the shower with them. Now, if there are a couple that they like to take showers together, that's great. But if you're not, then the caregiver is sort of challenged with reaching things inside a really large shower space. And so it really, and this is where ADA kind of falls short, because ADA is a guideline. They say that a 5x5 is needed, but that doesn't fit everybody, right? It doesn't fit everybody's life, everybody's their activity. I'm trying to think of what the words here. It doesn't fit their level of activity as far as what it takes to actually carry out that task. Okay. So an example of this is a tilt and space shower chair. So if somebody is going to need a tilt and space shower chair in the future, and this is what the caregivers and the families are planning for, as well as the individual, your tilt and space shower chairs are a lot longer, and a 5 foot by 5 foot, or I should say 5 foot long shower front to back is not going to be long enough. You're not going to be able to tilt that person comfortably in a tilt position. And I think I have a photo of that in here. So you need a 6 foot, at least a 6 foot shower from front to back to be able to accommodate a shower chair. The photos you see here, this is what we call a 0 or level entry shower. So there's no lip here for a caregiver to have to either push up or get over in order to get the person into the shower. So, and even if the person with ALS is still ambulatory and they're using a walker, this is a very easy transition for them to walk right in. And if they're still standing, they can hold onto the grab bars, or if they use a shower chair, they can sit very easily. But there's nothing here to have to step over or negotiate that's going to create a fall risk. Okay. With the toilet, this is an example of where we've used a grab bar next to the toilet on the wall. And then this is another example of a PT rail type system where there's a toilet paper holder on there. So again, this particular person was using a wheelchair, a manual wheelchair, but he still liked to stand and urinate for a male. So we gave him the option of either standing or transferring to the toilet and sitting. So one other thing I want to say about this before we move on. So the depth of the shower doesn't necessarily need to be 5 foot either. It can be 3 foot to accommodate a shower chair. And with that, the reason why I'm saying this, because again, like I said earlier, the caregiver doesn't have to reach in so far to be able to shower and bathe that person. Okay, they should be pretty well within arm's reach. So if the caregiver is standing outside the shower, the person that they're caring for should be within at least arm's reach without having to actually get into the shower with them. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to everyone. So one of the common things folks do when they have their bathroom modified, they have a contractor come in that tells them, well, you need a knee wall here next to the toilet to be able to mount a grab bar. However, that creates a barrier for the caregiver who has to, if they're pushing them into a shower, but it also creates a barrier for somebody too if they're self-propelling themselves into the shower. So I always caution against putting in knee walls in showers because it does create a barrier. The second thing about the shower setup is where is the placement of the water controls and the handheld shower head. Okay, if it's all the way in the back of the shower, the caregiver again has to basically walk into the shower, turn on the water, walk back out, help the person get into the shower. Then the caregiver is wet, right? So so you can kind of imagine the routine that happens here, right? So placement of the shower head and the water controls is very important because this is creating a fall risk for the caregiver. In this situation here, I would have recommended the shower head and the water controls be placed since they did put a nice glass partition here or a wall. I would have recommended, and usually do recommend, the water controls and the handheld shower head be offset to where all the caregiver has to do is stand outside the shower, reach in and control the water and operate the shower head. In this shower here on the far right, this is actually one that I did for somebody. He didn't have ALS, but I think this is a good example where this person was still pretty independent in showering himself using a self-propelling shower chair, and he still had the ability to stand. But we planned this for the future when he does need a caregiver. And so this glass partition can be, or glass wall can be removed so that the caregiver again can stand outside the shower and operate the controls without actually having to get into the shower with the person. And then you see here the nice level entry or zero entry flooring here. Okay, let's go back and let's stop for questions here.
Yes, we did have one in the chat from Julie. Can you spell the name of the grab bar you recommend with the texture?
Yes, it's an Italian name. It's Ponte Ponte, I believe it is. Let me see here. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna put it in the chat. It's Ponte Giulio, and it's where's my phone? Let me Google it real quick. Okay, so it's PONTEGIULIO.
Perfect. I'll write that in the chat. And then
Okay.
she also was asking, can a grab bar be installed on a door to be used only when the door is closed?
Never had that question asked, but the door, if it's an interior door, and it's not a solid door, if it's a hollow door, I wouldn't recommend it. Maybe if it's a solid door, a solid wood door that's not hollow, because somebody pulls on that, it's gonna, crack and break. It doesn't take much to
Sure.
break those doors, those hollow doors.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then someone else was interested in the name of the patient lift that was recommended, the name and the model, the one that the portable.
Yes. So the portable is so it's Joerns, which is spelled Joerns, that's the manufacturer. So it's a Joerns Advance.
Does Hoyer also make one, or do you just have found it with Joerns?
So let me see here. Let me see what the model is real quick. It's a Joerns Hoyer Advance 340 folding patient lift.
Okay.
Yes.
And typically insurance doesn't cover the fully electric lifts, correct?
Correct. Well, and it used to be that that the equipment providers could bill the insurance for the rental and collect the difference for the upgrade to the power. But since all the Medicare changes, I'm not sure about that anymore, if that's still
Really? Okay.
allowable. Medicare has placed some very interesting restrictions on some equipment where and has basically limited the provider's ability to charge for upgrades. I know that to be true with power chairs, but I don't know that to be exactly true with the power Hoyer lifts.
Okay.
So that is something I would ask if somebody already has an equipment provider they're working with. I would ask them about upgrading to a power Hoyer lift.
Okay. And just an FYI for folks, which most of you probably already know this, but we have a pretty extensive equipment loan program, and you can speak with your program manager if your clinic team is making any of these recommendations for any of the shower chairs or, the lifts or whatnot, and we can see what's available in our equipment loan program.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cindi.
You're welcome. So this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier in the previous slide. is when we look at the space needed in the shower and looking at the caregiver, the patient and the caregiver demands to be able to do that and carry out that task. These, and you see here, these yellow and red bullets here. This is what we look at when we evaluate somebody. We look at how wide the shower chair is and how long the shower chair is, both in an upright position and in a tilt position. And then, as therapists, we evaluate the position that the caregiver needs to stand in to be able to carry out that bathing task, or even a dressing task, or, if they're in bed. So wherever the care is being carried out, we look at the position of the caregiver, what are the demands, what do they need to be able to do, and then also what are the caregiver's capabilities. Okay, if the caregiver has some health issues going on, they have back pain, they have shoulder pain, things like that, those are all things that we have to consider when we're going in and evaluating somebody for home modifications. And this is to illustrate the what I was talking about earlier with the width of the shower being 6 foot long, and the depth doesn't have to exactly be 5 foot deep, like what ADA specifies. Okay, and this is an actual patient of mine, not the same person as the gentleman that I spoke to on the left. This is an actual, these two photos, the middle photo and the right photo, are from a shower from a previous client with ALS. And so the shower that we designed for him was a 6 foot long. Actually, I think this one was a little longer. This one might have been like a little over 6 feet. And the depth of it was a little over 3 foot. So we designed it exactly for the caregiver to be able to safely caregive and bathe their loved one. Okay. So this is just a perfect example of where, ADA is just a guideline. Okay. Doesn't meet the needs of everyone. And here's another, I had forgotten that I put these in here. These are the other transfer systems that I was telling you about, which is the one on the far right. This is the wall mounted one. I didn't have room to fit it in the other slide. And it's not the greatest photo, but this is where somebody just needed a lift system to go from the bed to the chair, but they didn't have the room to put in either an overbed system. They didn't want to put in a ceiling lift system. I think actually this one is actually in a facility. They didn't want to put in an overhead ceiling track system. So we opted for a wall mounted. And the other thing about ceiling track systems is sometimes you have to go through doorways, and folks don't want their doorways above the door. They don't want that cut into. So that's when another situation where you would opt for an over the bed freestanding system. And this is just an example here. And on the left, this is another example of a ceiling track system. Okay. So in situations where somebody either can't afford an expensive bathroom modification, which since COVID, the cost of materials and the service and the labor and the contractor, everything has gone up since COVID. It used to be that a typical bathroom modification, including a shower and a roll under vanity, I would say it was in the ballpark of $15,000 to $25,000, right? Now, since COVID, bathroom modifications are ranging anywhere between $25,000 to $35,000. So the cost is still, it hasn't come down yet. I'm hoping in the next couple of years, the cost of these modifications are going to go back to what they used to be, but right now they're not, because a big part of it is that we're still having or we're still seeing a lot of labor issues. Can't find people to work. So contractors are having a really, really hard time finding trade workers. So in a situation where somebody can't, bathroom modification is just not an option, this is an alternative. Okay, and these are sliding transfer systems. I actually have a client in Tampa right now who has ALS. They're snowbirders, and we're modifying the bathroom, but not the shower, because they don't want to modify the shower. Instead, we're actually doing a My Shower Buddy system for them, because they're only here, half of the year, and their primary home is in Michigan. So what this system does, again, for the caregiver, is it reduces the amount of transfers that the caregiver has to do. So the idea is this chair or the shower commode chair is over, if you were to slide this back, it would be over the base. And you detach the railing or what we call the bridge. And then this becomes a freestanding rolling system. Okay, so the caregiver, what they'll do is they can transfer their loved one from the bed to the shower chair. They can roll them into the bathroom, back them up over the toilet, and then they can engage the bridge and then slide them over into the shower. So it eliminates the multiple transfers. It eliminates the bed to the chair to the toilet, and then the toilet to the shower. So you've significantly reduced your number of transfers, which is, that's just ideal for the caregiver as well as the person. There are other systems. I usually recommend a tilt system for a person with ALS and anybody who has a progressive neurological disease, because the tilt system allows the person to relax, and they're not at risk for tipping forward if they're getting tired, if they can't sit upright in an upright seat like you see here in the middle. It has a headrest, and so it's a better experience for both the caregiver and the person. So in the middle, this is an example of a product, same concept. Over on the right is what we call New Products, is another manufacturer. And then there's even the lower cost options. So if the person is still able to sit upright, and they don't need any, this type of shower buddy system that's, a lot more expensive, you can start out using this type of sliding system here that you see by Drive. Not going to go over the toilet, but at least it gets them into the shower area. Okay. And this is something that Medicare does not cover. Okay. Unfortunately, they don't see showers, or for whatever reason, they say, well, it's not, what's the terminology? It's not medically necessary. So Medicare says it's not medically necessary to take a shower or take a bath. So, okay. So continuing on with bathroom modifications, another common modification we recommend are the roll under sinks. And there's a number of different products out there now. We can modify an existing vanity, such as this one you see here in the middle. This is another vanity type system with a farm sink now. These farm style sinks have become very popular, and I actually particularly like them because the sink is offset out, so it can actually get closer to the person. Okay, and if they have weak arms and they can't reach in or reach that far to reach the water controls, you can actually bring the sink closer to them. So this has become a popular option. The other thing that we look at is where the mirror is set and where the water controls are set, because you want that person to be able to reach the water controls themselves. And you can actually offset the water controls on the left or the right, which again, that becomes beneficial to the caregiver, because the caregiver doesn't have to reach around the person to turn on the water for them. So mirrors is you want to be able, you want the person or your loved one to be able to see themselves in the mirror. If they're sitting in a wheelchair and the mirror's up here, they can't exactly see themselves, right? So if bringing the mirror down is not an option, we recommend tilting mirrors, which is great, because you can have a tilting mirror for their loved one, and then they can have you can have two separate mirrors so they can be angled to meet the needs of both the person and the caregiver. When it comes to sinks, I see a lot of folks opting to get a pedestal sink. Pedestal sinks are not wheelchair accessible, because the person has to straddle the stand of the sink. And so if somebody really wants a pedestal sink, the half pedestals, which you see here on the left, are available now. But the other thing about pedestal sinks that I'm not particularly fond of is there's not a whole lot of room for your, grooming items and stuff. So I typically recommend opting for what I call a floating vanity. And you can have a floating vanity installed and then have, drawers and storage space and custom built under the vanities. And this photo you see here on the right, this is a great option if you don't, if caregivers and persons with ALS say, well, I just modified my really nice bathroom and I don't want this ugly sink and plumbing to be exposed, and I want to look at it, right? So what you can do is you can make the doors still functional, but underneath there's the shelving is of course been taken out, or they didn't reinstall any type of shelving underneath. And I even have a contractor that will put track systems on the doors, so the doors will swing open and then they can retract and tuck under the sink. So again, there's just multiple options that are available, and you really have to have somebody come in not only just a clinician, but also with the contractor. You have to make sure the contractor is experienced in working with persons that have physical limitations. Okay. With doors and light switches, and I spoke to this a little bit earlier, where you have space limitations. If you're opting to keep a swing outdoor, you can install what we call swing clear hinges, okay, which you see here on the left. The hinge, what it does is when the door swings open, the door actually then goes flush with the frame. So you actually get the full width of the door frame, versus typically the door, if you look at your door, this inside corner of the door that you see here sticks out into the space. So you can gain a good 1.5 to 2 inches of space inside your doors. If the doorknob is hitting the wall, this is what we call a doorknob gobbler. So, and very easy to put in. And what it does is allows the door to recess into the wall, so you don't have this big hole in the wall. In the middle here, you see this is a pocket door. Again, I'm presuming with this, this is a small commode area. They still wanted to have the door. There probably wasn't enough room for a swing door, so they opted to install a pocket door. And this is another example of a set of barn doors for the bathroom. Barn doors have become very popular. Okay. So was that overwhelming information for everyone? I'll move you guys up here.
I think it was very, I loved all the photos. So you showed, not only did you tell about what the pieces of equipment that would be very helpful are, but you showed photos, and I think that's, I'm sure everybody will agree, that's very helpful. And one thing I did want to mention, which I didn't say in the beginning, is this webinar has been recorded. So it will be on our YouTube channel, and it will also be on our Facebook page. We'll let you know when it is available, but you'll be able to go back and refer to the different pieces of equipment or different sections that maybe you might have missed or need a refresher on, because Cindi did share a lot of information, a lot of great information.
Yeah, is the PowerPoint going to be shared as well? Because
If you can make that available, I'll speak with our marketing manager and see if we can make that available. We can certainly email it out. And I'm sure there's a way to share it on our social media. I'm not sure about how we would share it on the YouTube channel, but definitely on the on Facebook. I know you can share attachments if you wouldn't mind sharing it with us.
yeah, I'll make it a PDF.
Wonderful.
Hopefully it's not too, sometimes when they have all the photos in them, the file is really large, but I'll find a way to get it to you.
Okay. Sure.
And I wanted to have ample time for questions and discussion.
Sure.
This was really sort of a we're skimming the surface of what's available out there, but I wanted to make sure I touched on all the different things that are available, because there's more out there. It's just it would be too much in
Sure.
one presentation.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
If
let's-
anyone has any questions on low tech, anything that's low tech that isn't as high tech as some of the stuff that Cindi has shown, please ask her, because she has so much information on any low tech equipment that you may be thinking of, simple things.
Mhm.
Please ask, because she will definitely have an answer for you.
I see
Yeah.
Holly has raised her hand. Holly, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, I sort of caught something when you were talking. You said, when a clinician comes out to your house. Now, my husband's had ALS for 4 years. Nobody's came out to our house. So, I mean, yes, we have a lot of this stuff, but it's just been, hit or miss, asking the doctors what we need. I mean, is that common that clinicians come out to the house to give you an evaluation of what they think you should add?
And Marixa, you can, comment on this too. It's not common, at least from my experience. It really is sort of up to the clinic and the physician, and whether or not they think you need a clinician to come out to the house to do an evaluation. I mean, I can tell you that I used to work pretty closely with Mayo Clinic, and I would get the request for a comprehensive evaluation to go out and evaluate everything, from the environmental accessibility to the equipment needs. And but that,
I mean,
I wouldn't say
I've-
that's common practice.
I've learned so much today, just little things that, I thought, wow, that'd be neat for somebody to come by and look and say, oh, this may help here, or this
Mhm.
may help here, or this is what I suggest. And, it's just unfortunate that that doesn't happen right away when somebody is diagnosed.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah,
it's
So
dependent on
I'm
the-
sorry to interrupt you guys, but
Yeah, I was gonna say,
something that
Marixa,
there
you can
is-
comment on this too.
Yeah, we have, the home office has started a program very recently where someone can do an eval virtually. So that's something that we need to ask for, but the program is there. I know that Cynthia Kanaki, for those of us that are here, who is with the ALS Association, I know that she had a lot of information with that, and we have it. I'm sure it's easily accessible to those people that need something like that. So if anyone on this call or anyone at all needs a home evaluation that can be done virtually, I know they can be done virtually because they're being done. Please email either myself or any program manager on the staff that, and we should be able to get that together for you.
I know the clinic that I attend, we do home safety evaluations often. They're recommended by the OT. Depending on your insurance, they should be covered as an initial evaluation. So that is something that can be done. And, you know, you can also ask next time you're at clinic, you can ask the team if a home safety evaluation is appropriate and if they would, you know, send the order in with the home health agency that you're using. If you're being seen, if you're getting your therapies done, your spouse or your whomever you're taking care of is being seen in the home. If you're doing outpatient therapies, OTPT, outpatient in a facility, then you're not going to be, they won't cover the home safety evaluation because that's an in-home. So
I'm sorry to interrupt, but my experience was like that when my brother was doing the physical therapy in the house.
right.
The clinician, the therapist evaluate the whole house, particularly the bathroom, and they give you plenty of suggestions. So that was the way that we've been modifying the house for him.
Yeah, I would say,
Therapy that you receive.
Mhm.
yeah, I would say home health therapists are probably
Yeah,
the most common ones that are actually out there doing the home safety
right.
evaluations. Yeah.
I have also, if you have an agent, the agent the agency comes and do a whole house evaluation. I have a question regarding the shower share. We have one, but it's not as strong as I see, and my brother is not as stable anymore. Where can I get reference for that?
So the shower chair you have now, do you know what it is?
It's the one that have the wheels and the hole in the middle, but it's not as strong as the one that you show in the picture.
Uh-huh.
That
Yeah.
have, to keep him straight on top and all.
Oh, so it has a strap to keep him secure.
The one we have, it does not. It's just an average shower chair.
Are you working with an equipment provider right now
No.
or in the past? Like a
Well, Tina has
motion
helped
or-
us a lot for whatever we need through the ALS Association. And I also know that she has sent me something that I could do it through a grant, but I wanted like reference of a better chair than the one he had. Where can I get the one that you show in the picture? What kind of chair is that I could Google or something like that?
Yeah, so the tilt and space chairs are you typically provided through the equipment providers, like like New Motion, the vendors that have been mentioned. Like you guys have a vendor list, right, Marixa? And yeah, so so there's a vendor list that the association has, and New Motion I know is one vendor and Asum is another. So those vendors are you would have somebody come out to your house and they would evaluate for the shower chair unless something has changed, Marixa, that I don't know about.
Fiora, I can
Also
get
have
with you.
ability.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay,
I can
thank
get
you.
with you for Dr. Jose. Not a
Okay.
problem. Yeah, I'll call you
Thank
on
you.
that. Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, but they are private pay. So just so you know that they aren't covered by insurance.
There is a nonprofit that we also work with that provides the chairs, those comprehensive rehabilitation shower chairs. We can also put you in contact with them as well. They'll have somebody come out and do the measurements and see what would work best in the home. And then they provide that at no charge. And it's typically the brand is Raz. There's other different brands, but they are the heavy duty, really good shower chairs. We don't have too many in our equipment loan program, but we can always check to see if we do.
Okay.
And then if not, we can provide that resource for you.
Okay.
Excuse me,
Thank
I
you.
came in a little late. Who do I email about virtual home safety evaluation?
Eileen, I can talk to you about that.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll because your husband was just at clinic, so I'll get back with you on that. Okay.
well, he was at a clinic in October.
Yeah. Well, he's due. Yeah, I'll reach out to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So Cindy, there was a question in the chat. Low-tech ways to open and close doors from a wheelchair by the person using the chair. I think they want to get started on some home automation options.
So low tech, for opening and closing the door, it's tough to keep it low tech without,
Could it be the
well,
open sesame,
typically,
but not
what-
using, not connecting it to Alexa?
well, the open sesame doesn't have to be connected to Alexa, and it's operated with a button. Actually, I have one here, but there's a button that it opens with. So it doesn't, you don't have to use Alexa voice activation. That's just an option. It's tough because, especially if it's a power chair and they're approaching the door, you've got the foot plate out there in front. And so it kind of depends on the approach to the door. If, lever handles is usually, because they can't turn a doorknob, becomes tough. So lever door handles is a low tech option. And folks typically, from my experience, they have problems closing the door. And so a low tech option there is they'll mount like something in the middle of the door to help them turn around, reach and close the door. Whether it's a rope, or whether it's, I've had people use a grab bar, a number of different things that can be mounted in the middle of the door to help close it. Usually opening the door, the issue is turning the doorknob. There are door lock systems out there that are compatible with phones now. Like we have the Kevo, Kevo. So approaching the door and unlocking it is now, you can do that through the phone. That is a low tech option. But to actually physically open the door, that's where you need a door. You need like an open sesame. So hopefully that answers the question.
Tim, does that answer your question? Yes, okay, wonderful. Any other questions? Feel free to come off and mute or type it in the chat.
I don't know if this is out of the area, but I was before shopping for a new feeding, not a feeding tube, the thing that goes in the feeding tube, this.
Oh, yeah.
And I was wondering, any recommendations on where to go for those things?
Who supplied you with those before?
I have no idea.
Who's
I think
providing
it was
the formula, Eileen? Do you know who's getting the formula? Is it CVS Quorum or?
No, I thought it was through the hospital.
No, you get a monthly supply. They should be sending you your formula and then all supplies for the PEG tube, it should be on auto refill. And then each time you're at clinic, they'll do the renewal. They'll update the orders.
Oh, yeah, well, the initial order was through the clinic.
Right.
That I remember.
Right.
But I don't know who's sending it.
Okay, we'll talk about that as well. Okay, there was another question from Tim. How to get started on getting these home automation options?
Well, again, they're not covered by insurance, and you need to have someone come to the home to do what we call a home smart assessment and discuss the options and the things that you want to have, that you want to control. and how you want to control them. So meaning either by touch or by voice. And then at that time, you know, we go through what the options are. But the first step is to have somebody come in and do a smart home assessment to see, well, to look at the home, because we need to see what the capabilities are. Yep.
Tim, I suggest you reach out to your program manager, depending on which area you live in. You should know who your program manager is. You would have met her at clinic, and she can also connect you. There's that same, there's another nonprofit out there that does provide home automation, and that's one of their services. So perhaps they would be able to help you. We also have Care Assist grants. So there are some options out there for you.
So it sounds like, Tina, there's a lot more grants and funding options out there than there used to be.
You know, the one in particular, they're limited on what they do cover, but it just so happens they do provide the for what we've covered today, fortunately. And then of course there is our Care Assist grant that we offer quarterly.
Okay.
You know, for folks that you know, can apply, and which is a great benefit that we have. So yeah, it's definitely always good for folks to reach out to your program manager. And you know, we have lots of you know, a lot of great information to share with everyone. And, you know, we don't want you to have to wait till your next clinic appointment. We're here to help you and guide you, you know, and answer any questions. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find out for you. So we have these great, you know, professionals like Cindi we can reach out to and, you know, get these answers from. So, you know, always feel welcome to reach out to, and we have a few of them on here as well. We have Charlene on the call, who's in Southwest Florida. So the west coast of Florida. And then Marixa is our care services director, and she's the Orlando area. And then we have Carmen on the call, who does our equipment loan program, all things, any equipment that you need from our vendors through our the ALS Association. And we also, Jackie's still on, Jackie Matthews, she does our grants. And then of course I'm in Southeast Florida. So we want you guys to reach out to us with any questions that you may have. You're very welcome, Molly. There's Jackie.
Tina, what I did was I just actually put the link. If you guys, since you can't save it or snap a picture, if you press on that link, another window shall open up, and that will help you get the virtual home modification safety assessment program through the ALS Association. So it will kind of guide you there. So to help with
Very
that
good.
virtual home modification.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and Judy is also, Judy's our veteran program manager. Judy's been with the chapter, I think, or with the Florida ALS Association, I think, since we started. So Judy Benwick is up in North Central Florida. So sorry about that, Judy. My boxes are covering half the boxes here, so I apologize. There was another question Julie had. Do you have any information, Cindi, on toileting self-care, such as bidet seats?
Yes, and we didn't touch on bidets. So bidets are great. They're great, but they have their limitations down the road if a person needs to use a shower chair. Such as like the My Shower Buddy system, or a shower chair that you're going to back them up over the toilet. That's where the problem lies. And, you know, if you're planning for the future, that bidet is not going to be compatible with the shower chair. So that's my only caution about that. Because I've had people buy them and then they can't use them when they need a shower system like a My Shower Buddy or something. So, because, and the one thing about using a shower or a commode chair over a bidet is that the spray, and typically not, you can't, the bidet, functional piece of the bidet that helps clean the person doesn't get high enough to reach because you're sitting above the bidet. So yeah, that's my only caution, but yes, but they're a great option.
Thank you for that. Thank you for being here.
Okay,
Merry Christmas. Tell
Yeah.
Dr. Jose I said hello.
Thank you
Merry
so
happy
much.
holidays.
and you are outstanding.
Oh,
Thank you so much for all you
You're
do
welcome.
for us.
You're very welcome.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Thank
So I
you.
have a question, Tina. Who's doing the home safety assessments? The telehealth home safety assessments?
So that's through our home office. And I think that's a new program that they've instituted. And
There's a flyer here that I think I have
that
to
what
fill
you did?
out. I'm assuming
Sure.
you fill it out and you
Yeah.
could give it to your program. Maritza has her hand up. Oh, okay. So you pretty much fill that information out. You could get it back to your program manager, and then we'll take it from there and send it to the necessary people that kind of manage that.
Okay, I'm interested in that.
Yeah,
So-
those links that I pretty much posted on our chat. If you
Mhm.
press on it that way, at least it will save on your browser. I think it's too much to take a picture and to do it, but if you do it that way, then it will kind of save it and give you additional information on how to go about. But you could definitely always touch base with your program manager and say, I did this webinar. This was something that was mentioned. Could you give me a little bit more information? And again, we'll take it a step further and start that process.
Okay, it's a Microsoft link, actually. So, and I'm on an Apple computer, so it wants me to it wants me to connect into a
Oh,
Microsoft.
geez.
Tina, this is Roy Lagana.
Hi, Roy.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
On the shower chair with the bridge,
Yes.
Mhm.
in my shower, the shower is large enough, but I have a small threshold for about a 3-inch threshold.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can those rails to the shower bridge be removed once the person is transferred into the shower?
Mhm. Yes.
So those large rails can be removed so that I can get next to the shower chair
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So once the person is in the shower, you take the rolling base, you can roll it away with the bridge disconnects.
Okay.
Yep, and you can put it aside.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Cindy,
welcome.
do you think in that situation, a rubber mat, the rubber ramp would use, I've seen them in the VA. I picked actually some up for donation to the loan closet. Would that be better maybe and less cumbersome than having the actual, what Roy was asking about? Maybe since it's only 3 inches, could you do the ramp going up and then depending on how big the shower, I guess, is?
Well, I mean, a ramping system into a shower is, I mean, typically there's a lip and, I mean, it's a 3 inches up and it's
Right.
typically, a
And
couple
3 inches
inches
down.
down.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not gonna, if
Okay.
that's the situation, I mean, very rarely.
I'd have to have a ramp on either side.
Right.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
they have
I
those
don't know if the
rubber
shower is large
things.
enough.
They have the rubber mats that have holes in them so the water will go through that you can stack up. So maybe it would be easier for the other. I was just kind of mulling in my brain. Okay.
mhm. Yeah, I've had people build ramping systems into their showers before. And and I would even with a rubber one, unless it's just like an inch,
Yeah. Okay.
anything over 2 inches
I
is
got
like,
you.
that's
Okay.
kind of yeah, safety
Sure.
concern. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Tim had a question. Has anyone used the Shore Hands lift?
So the Sure Hands lift, I have had patients who use the Sure Hands lift. Some of them love it's kind of like a love-hate relationship because you're hanging. I mean, if it's the one I'm thinking of, unless they've changed it, you got to have a supportive strapping system with the Sure Hands, unless it's a different model than I'm thinking of.
It looks like Tim put the link in there. Okay, I did a
So I downloaded the actual, the
PDF.
spreadsheet, so then hopefully you should be able to do that, get into it now, because it was coming from our home base, so it had, I guess, some extra added security. So I was able to download it and send it, so hopefully that should work now. But again, if any run into any problems, please touch bases.
Yeah, ask your,
Program manager.
yeah, thank you, Charlene. I just
Yeah.
tried to open it. It wouldn't allow me to open it.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this now. Thank you for that. The Sure Hands, look, they do have, well, they have the full, they do have a sling system, which is good. And that, the other type of system where you have the arms being like it, you got this, the supports that go under the arms, and then the, sort of the, for lack of a better word, the hooks that go under the legs. That's that type of a setup I probably would not recommend for a person with ALS. That system is more for folks that have a certain level of trunk control, meaning upper body control. They're pretty good about being able to handle the pressure and the stress that puts up under the armpits and stuff. So I probably would not recommend that type of system, but the sling system, yes, because it provides more support.
All right, very good. Well, it looks like we're at 3:01, and I want to be mindful of everybody's time. I do appreciate everybody taking time out of their day, especially to Cindi. We can't thank you enough for your support of the ALS community and to the ALS Association, and for being here with us today. Your knowledge is amazing, and we so appreciate you sharing with us everything. So again, everybody, it was good to see all of you. We thank you for being here. We appreciate you as caregivers, and hope you're able to join. We do have a statewide caregivers group that is facilitated by Judy Benwick, who is on the call. And you can always find information on all of our resource support groups on our website. And you can reach out to your program manager as well if you're not sure of what would be the best group to join. But just want to wish everybody a very happy holiday, happy new year. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was great to see everybody.
Thank you so much, Cindi. Be well, everyone.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.